I always believed that family was the safest place in the world. My sister Penelope and I had been close for 28 years. I protected her, loved her, and trusted her completely. I had just been promoted at work, and life finally seemed to be going in the right direction. I was even planning to buy my first house next year. But one morning, I woke up and realized that blind trust could be the biggest mistake of my life. Everything started at 3 a.m., while I was sound asleep, unaware that someone was going through my wallet. Before I continue with this story, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you have ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with all your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Stay until the very end, because what I did next completely changed everything. My name is Marcus. I am 32 years old and I work as a software engineer at a technology company in Seattle. It is a good job, stable income, and I have been saving money for years to build a secure future. My father, Richard, is 60 years old and retired a few years back. He lives in the house where I grew up, about 45 minutes outside the city. My mother passed away 5 years ago from cancer. That loss changed our family forever, but we tried to stay close to support each other through the grief. My sister Penelope is 28 years old. She works part-time at a clothing store downtown and still lives with our father. She never really found her footing after college, bouncing between jobs, never settling into a career. Our father has always been protective of her, maybe too protective. I understood why. Penelope looks exactly like our mother. The same eyes, the same smile, the same way of tilting her head when she listens to someone talk. For my father, having Penelope around was like keeping a piece of my mother alive. Then there is Derek, our cousin. He is 30 years old, the son of my father's sister. Derek has always been the type of person who believes the world owes him something. He does not work consistently, spends money he does not have, and has a talent for convincing others to fund his lifestyle. He and Penelope have been close since childhood, and over the years, I noticed how he influenced her spending habits, always talking about luxury brands, exotic vacations, and living the good life. Growing up, I was always the one who looked out for Penelope. When kids at school teased her, I stepped in. When she struggled with homework, I stayed up late helping her. When our mother got sick, I held Penelope while she cried and promised her that I would always take care of her. After our mother passed, that promise became even more important to me. I took it seriously, maybe too seriously. Over the past 3 years, I had lent Penelope money multiple times. A few hundred here for car repairs. 1,000 there for an unexpected bill. Another 500 because she was short on rent. I never kept exact records, but looking back, it added up to around $8,000. I never asked for any of it back. She was my sister, and I believed that family helped each other without keeping score. My father's favoritism toward Penelope was something I had accepted long ago. He never said it directly, but it was obvious in small ways. He would light up when she walked into a room. He remembered her preferences, her favorite foods, her schedule. With me, conversations were shorter, more practical. I told myself it was not personal. He was just coping with the loss of my mother in his own way, and Penelope was his connection to her memory. One Friday evening in late September, I drove to my father's house to spend the weekend. The next day was his 61st birthday, and I wanted to be there to celebrate with him. When I arrived, Penelope and Derek were already there. The house smelled like roasted chicken and garlic bread, and for a moment, it felt like old times. During dinner, the conversation turned to travel. Derek started talking about Japan. He had been researching a trip for months, he said. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, authentic sushi restaurants, traditional tea ceremonies. His eyes sparkled as he described it all, calling it the dream of a lifetime. Penelope hung on every word, her face full of excitement and longing. She asked questions about the best shopping districts, the most beautiful temples, the finest ryokans. I did not think much of it at the time. It seemed like harmless daydreaming, the kind of conversation people have when they wish they could escape their everyday lives. I certainly never imagined it was anything more than that. That night, I slept in my old bedroom. Before going to bed, I placed my wallet on the nightstand, just like I always did. The room was familiar, comfortable. I fell asleep quickly, feeling safe in the home where I had grown up. I woke up the next morning around 7, eager to start preparing a special birthday breakfast for my father. The house was quiet and soft. Morning light filtered through the curtains. I reached for my phone on the nightstand to check the time, and that is when I saw them. Notification after notification from my bank. Transaction approved. Transaction approved. Transaction approved. My heart started pounding as I scrolled through the alerts. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., someone had charged $11,000 to my credit card. My hands were shaking as I read the details. $6,800 for 2 first-class airline tickets to Tokyo. $2,500 for a luxury hotel reservation. $1,700 in purchases from high-end Japanese fashion retailers. I felt dizzy, like the floor had shifted beneath me. I grabbed my wallet and checked inside. My credit card was still there exactly where I had left it. But someone had clearly used my card information. I looked more closely at the transactions on my phone and realized all the purchases were made online using the card number, expiration date, and security code. Someone had copied my card without physically taking it. My mind raced through the possibilities. A data breach, a hacker. But the timing was too specific, too connected to the conversation at dinner. A cold realization began to form in my stomach, but I pushed it away. It could not be. Not Penelope. Not my own sister. I rushed downstairs to find her to ask if she knew anything about what had happened, but her bedroom door was open and the room was empty. Her bed was made. Her suitcase was gone. I found my father in the kitchen, sipping coffee and reading the news on his tablet. "Where is Penelope?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked up casually. "Oh, she and Derek left early this morning. Said they had something urgent to take care of. She did not give you details." I felt my chest tighten. I pulled out my phone and called Penelope. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. I sent her a text message asking her to call me immediately. No response. I tried again. Nothing. Then I remembered something. A few years ago, when I was living in a college dormitory, I had installed a small security camera in my room to protect my belongings. It was a habit I had kept ever since. The camera was small, tucked away on a bookshelf, barely noticeable. I had set it up in my old bedroom at my father's house, 2 more out of routine than any real concern. I went back upstairs and checked the footage on my phone. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. The video showed my bedroom door slowly opening. A figure crept inside, moving carefully to avoid making noise. It was Penelope. I watched as she approached my nightstand, picked up my wallet, and removed my credit card. She held it under the flashlight of her phone, taking photos of the front and back. Then she slipped the card back into my wallet, returned it to the nightstand, and quietly left the room. I watched the video 3 times. Each time I hoped I was seeing it wrong, that there was some explanation that would make sense. But there was no mistaking it. My sister had stolen my credit card information while I slept. She had used it to fund a luxury vacation to Japan with our cousin Derek. My heart felt like it was being crushed. This was not a stranger or a faceless hacker. This was Penelope, the girl I had promised to protect, the sister I had loved and supported my entire life. I went back downstairs and found my father still in the kitchen. I showed him the video on my phone. I explained the transactions, the amounts, the timing. Everything matched perfectly. Penelope had done this. My father watched the video in silence. When it ended, he did not react the way I expected. Instead of anger or shock, his face settled into a troubled frown. "Are you sure this is not some kind of misunderstanding?" he asked quietly. I could not believe what I was hearing. I showed him the bank notifications, the credit card statements, the exact timestamps. The evidence was undeniable. But my father kept searching for another explanation. Maybe Penelope needed money urgently and was too embarrassed to ask, he suggested. "You know she has been struggling. You should try to understand her situation. Besides, we are family. Money should not be something we fight about." I felt a second wave of betrayal wash over me. It was not just Penelope who had stabbed me in the back. My father was standing right there watching the evidence of her crime and choosing to defend her anyway. He asked me to wait until Penelope came back so we could talk things through as a family. He made me promise not to call the police, not to escalate the situation. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Part of me still hoped that somehow this could be resolved within our family, that Penelope would apologize, that she would make things right. The next 7 days were some of the hardest of my life. Each morning I woke up hoping to hear from Penelope, to receive some explanation or apology. Each night I went to bed disappointed. I followed Penelope and Derek on social media, watching as they documented their dream vacation in real time. Photos of them on the plane, champagne glasses in hand, reclining in first-class seats. Check-ins at a luxury hotel in Shinjuku with views of the Tokyo skyline. Pictures of elaborate sushi dinners, colorful shopping bags from designer stores in Ginza, selfies in rented kimonos at ancient temples in Kyoto. The comments under their posts made my blood boil. Friends and acquaintances leaving heart emojis and jealous messages. So lucky. Living your best life. Goals. No one knew that this dream trip was funded by stolen money. My money. I tried calling Penelope every day for the first 3 days. She never answered. On the 4th day, I discovered that she had blocked my number entirely. Not even a text message explaining herself. Just silence. My father called me several times during that week, always with the same message. Stay calm. Do not do anything rash. We will work this out when she gets back. Do not embarrass the family. I listened to his words, but I was already making my own plans. I was done being the naive older brother who let people take advantage of his kindness. 3 days after discovering the theft, I contacted my bank and reported the transactions as unauthorized. I explained the situation, provided the security camera footage, and filed a formal fraud claim. The bank representative told me they would investigate and that charges of this magnitude, over $5,000, were taken very seriously. If fraud was confirmed, the case could be referred to law enforcement. I did not tell my father about any of this. He had made his position clear. He would protect Penelope at any cost, even if it meant ignoring the truth. I had to protect myself now. On the 8th day, I received a text from my father. Penelope is home. Come over for dinner. Let us settle this like a family. I drove to his house that evening with a strange sense of calm. I was not angry anymore, at least not in the explosive way I had been earlier. I had moved past rage into something colder, more calculated. I knew exactly what I was going to do. When I walked into the living room, Penelope was sitting on the couch looking relaxed and tan. Her hair was freshly cut in a stylish new way. On her arm was an expensive designer handbag I had never seen before, probably purchased with my money. Derek sat nearby, scrolling through his phone, completely at ease. Penelope looked up when I entered. She did not apologize. She did not look ashamed. She just shrugged and said, "I knew you would come." I asked her directly, "Are you going to explain what happened? Are you going to tell me how you plan to pay back the $11,000 you stole from me?" Penelope laughed. Actually, laughed. She rolled her eyes and said, "How much money do you even have that you are acting like you lost everything? You are a software engineer. You make money easily. It is not that serious." Before I could respond, my father walked into the room. "Marcus, that is enough," he said firmly. "Stop pretending like your sister did something terrible. Penelope would never intentionally hurt you. She probably just thought you would not notice, or that you would not mind, since you have always been so generous with her." Derek chimed in from the corner. "Come on, man, you are family. Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" I stood there looking at the three of them. My sister who had stolen from me without remorse. My cousin who had benefited from the theft and saw nothing wrong with it. My father who knew the truth and chose to side with the thief anyway. I felt like I was standing alone in a room full of wolves, but I did not feel helpless. Not anymore. I took a deep breath and smiled. Everyone looked at me with confusion. They had expected anger, shouting, maybe tears. They did not expect a smile. "Penelope," I said calmly, "do you know what credit card you used?" She frowned clearly, not understanding where I was going with this. I continued, "That card is a supplementary card. It is linked to a joint account that Dad and I opened together after Mom passed away. We use it for shared family expenses, emergencies, things like that. I am the primary account manager, but legally, Any large transaction requires authorization from both account holders. And Dad, you did not authorize any of those purchases, did you? My father's face went pale. He shook his head slowly. I kept going. According to the bank's terms and conditions, any unauthorized transaction over $5,000 is automatically flagged for fraud investigation. I reported those transactions 3 days ago. The bank has already confirmed that this qualifies as fraud. If they cannot recover the funds directly, they will refer the case to the police for criminal investigation. Penelope's face turned white. Derek's smug expression vanished instantly. My father stuttered. Marcus, you cannot do this to your sister. She is family. We can handle this ourselves. I looked at him steadily. Dad, I did not do anything to her. Penelope made her own choices. She decided to steal from me. She decided to spend $11,000 on a vacation instead of asking for help like a normal person. She decided to block my calls and ignore me for a week. I am not punishing her. I am just not protecting her from the consequences of her own actions anymore. The room was silent. Penelope looked like she was about to cry. Derek was staring at the floor. My father could not meet my eyes. I turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, I looked back at Penelope one last time. I loved you, I said quietly. I would have helped you if you had just asked. But you did not ask. You took. And now, you have to deal with what comes next. The bank completed their investigation within 2 weeks. They confirmed that the transactions were fraudulent and unauthorized. The full $11,000 was refunded to the joint account. However, because Penelope had already used the money, she was held responsible for repaying the bank. She had to sign an agreement acknowledging the debt and committing to a repayment plan. If she failed to comply, criminal charges could still be filed. Derek faced his own consequences. When his mother, my aunt, found out what had happened, she was furious. She had been supporting Derek financially for years, believing he was trying to get his life together. Learning that he had participated in stealing from family was the final straw. She cut off all financial support immediately, forcing Derek to find a real job and support himself for the first time in his adult life. My father called me about a week after that confrontation. His voice sounded tired, older than I had ever heard it. He admitted that he had been wrong to defend Penelope so blindly, to dismiss my concerns, to prioritize her feelings over justice. He said he had been so afraid of losing his connection to my mother's memory that he had allowed Penelope to become someone my mother would have been ashamed of. He apologized. I listened to his apology. I told him that I did not hate him, but I needed time. Years of feeling like the second choice, the responsible one who was taken for granted, had built up walls inside me. Those walls would not come down overnight. The first few months after everything happened were difficult. I felt hollow, disconnected from the family. I had always tried so hard to hold together. The betrayal was not just about money. It was about trust, about realizing that the people I loved most were capable of hurting me without hesitation. I started seeing a therapist to work through my feelings. She helped me understand that being betrayed by family creates a unique kind of wound, one that challenges your fundamental beliefs about love, loyalty, and safety. She taught me that healing was not about forgetting or excusing what happened, but about reclaiming my sense of self-worth. I threw myself into my work, taking on extra projects and eventually requesting a transfer to my company's San Francisco office. The change of scenery helped. New city, new colleagues, new routines. I made friends who knew nothing about my past, people who valued me for who I was in the present moment. Most importantly, I learned to set boundaries. I realized that loving someone does not mean letting them take advantage of you. Protecting yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Family is important, but family should never be an excuse for abuse. About 6 months later, I received a handwritten letter from Penelope. It was long, several pages filled with apologies and explanations. She wrote about how ashamed she was, how Derek had convinced her that I would not care about the money, how she had been so desperate to escape her boring life that she made a terrible decision without thinking. She talked about the therapy she had started, the second job she had taken to pay back her debt, the way she was trying to become a better person. I read the letter carefully. I could tell it was sincere. Penelope was not making excuses or blaming anyone else. She was taking responsibility. I folded the letter and put it away in a drawer. I was not ready to respond, not yet. The wound was still healing, but I noticed that I did not feel angry anymore. The burning resentment that had consumed me for months had faded into something quieter, something that felt almost like peace. The lesson I learned from this experience is simple but important. Loving your family does not mean accepting mistreatment. Boundaries are not walls that separate you from people. They are fences that protect what matters most. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions. That is how people grow. That is how they learn. I do not hate Penelope anymore. I do not hate my father. Forgiveness is not about pretending that nothing happened. It is about choosing not to let the past control your future. I have made that choice. These days, when people ask me about my family, I still say that I have a sister. Our relationship is being rebuilt slowly, one honest conversation at a time, one small gesture of trust after another. It will never be what it was before, and maybe that is okay. Maybe what we are building now is something better. Something based on respect instead of blind obligation. And that is my story. If you are in a relationship where you are constantly being used or taken for granted, especially by people who claim to love you, remember this. You deserve to be treated with respect. Protecting yourself is never selfish. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply to stop accepting what you never should have tolerated in the first place. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone in your family? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more stories like this one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I wish you strength, healing, and the courage to always stand up for yourself.